Alright guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go to this really entertaining story that was sent from a subscriber. That's from a guy, he's 37 years old, and he shares his story that about events that happened 10 years ago when he was 27 and recently dumped his girlfriend for cheating. And in that story, he was going through a very hard time, so his father and grandfather invited him out for a weekend of camping and fishing. And during that camping and fishing trip, they really gave him great old school wisdom on women, relationships, all that completely changed this guy's life. Unbelievable. It's great. Talking about all the things I talk about in this channel. Fast forward time, and now he is a guy that pretty much has his fun with women, that's it, and lives a life according to himself, doing what he wants, making himself happy and all that, and they're of course chasing after him. And eventually you're going to see he gets in this relationship with this gal who tests the things that he learned from grandpa and dad, and let me tell you, it doesn't end well for her. And this is a really great one about some old school wisdom, things I talk about all the time that you guys can definitely learn from, and how when the gal pulls a stunt that she pulls, and you're going to be surprised by this, it does not end well for her, and you're going to be cracking up how this whole thing plays out. So a lot of good ones here, guys. He says, "Hello, Strong Successful Male. A new subscriber here about a month, and I spent a good amount of time watching your videos. I love them. I know I'll eventually get around to watching most of them, but I don't have a lot of time to sit in front of my computer. I was wondering if you could recommend some of the stories that you like the most to get me started. I know nothing in life is free, and time is money, so in trade, I'm sending you my story and hope you might find it useful." Well, bro, your story is great. I really enjoyed reading it, and you guys are going to enjoy this as well, like I said in the beginning. You can call me Jake. I'm 37 years old, and it's about the wisdom bombs dropped on me from my dad, who's 59, and my grandpa, 81 years old, may he rest in peace. When I changed my mindset about relationships in general, and I'm not against relationships, but my vetting process is from taking my dad and grandpa's words to heart. Your grandpa and your dad are awesome. I really enjoyed this story when I first read it last night. I was 28, and it was in 2014 when my relationship with my girlfriend of 4 years ended in flames. It could be a story of its own, but the short version is she cheated and I dumped her. Oh, please send in your story, my man. The situation wasn't all that unique, and most of the red flags were flying high. But I didn't know enough about red flags at the time to even see them. Where my dad and grandpa came in was a few weeks after the relationship ended. The three of us went camping and fishing for a weekend to help me get my mind right, and they dropped some truth bombs on me that changed the way I think and how I live. There you go. Getting away with the guys. Grandpa and your dad. Camping, fishing. I haven't been camping in years. Now here's a moment while living in Florida where I miss New England. Because camping up in New Hampshire, I went many, many times in the fall. Oh my God, in autumn in New England, amazing. So my former brothers from Massachusetts and New Hampshire, you can now laugh at me. But you're like, F you, SSM. You're wearing shorts and a t-shirt in December. Meanwhile, we're freezing our asses up here in New England. But anyhow, I miss the camping up there. I don't want alligators coming into my fucking tent here in Florida, so I'm not going camping here in Florida. Anyway. We recently lost my grandpa, but it wasn't anything tragic, just old age. Now that I consider 81 as old. Not that I consider 81 as being old. He died peacefully in his bed at home, and the family all had some private talks with him before he passed. I love my grandpa, and he was one of the strongest and wisest men I've ever known, but he never took anything too seriously. His motto was, "Don't take life too seriously. You aren't going to make it out alive. Have fun." The last thing he said to me was a joke. He asked me if I knew why men in marriages usually died first. I asked him why, and he laughed and said it was cheaper than divorce. He was a good man, and he'll be missed. So I wanted to share some of the wisdom he gave me on the camping trip. As many as you and many others have probably experienced, I was at a low point in my life when my relationship ended, and I spent the first day of our camping trip complaining about women and life. My dad and grandpa let me vent and didn't say anything the first night. I guess they thought I needed to get it out of my system. Okay. Let him talk. And if there's any crying or moaning and groaning the next day, they're going to verbally smack the shit out of you. It was on the second day while we were fishing, and I was still bitching about how unfair the world is that they had enough. My dad told me to stop whining and to figure out where to go from there. He gave you a day. He let you vent. He let you say what you had to say. My grandpa was a little more sympathetic, and he asked me if I could explain why I was so upset. I actually had to think about it and told him that women have changed so much from when they were both young, and they wouldn't understand, which elicited a round of laughter from both of them. My friend, and I said this before, women have always been the same. Okay? Yeah, I say Sodom and Gomorrah 2.0 because you got the feminist movement actively encouraging gals to do what, guess what, a lot of them have been doing for a long time. But as I said before, I don't care where you live in the world, what your culture is, your religion, your socioeconomic background, your education, whether this is now or 250 years ago, what drives women and what they do and the way they think and the emotions and all that shit to do what they do. And the same thing with men, it's no different. This is why they're laughing at you. They're like, please. I asked him what was so funny, and my grandpa told me he had the same conversation with my dad when he was around my age, and he had the same conversation with his dad around the same age. And all the conversations were about the same topic, cheating women. They spent the rest of that Saturday telling me about their own experience with women, and it turns out that women haven't really changed at all. What'd I tell you? The technology is different, but women are still women. We have cell phones and the internet today. In my dad's youth, there was the bowling alley hookups, and my grandpa joked about dating at the beginning of the sexual revolution in the 60s. He told me that every generation of men think they have it worse than the generation before, and said the common trope of when his dad was young was the mailman or the milkman making extra deliveries. Anyway, well, now we have FedEx and Amazon Prime drivers making extra deliveries. We talked for a long time, and it was the first time I saw that side of my dad. The advice they gave me was simple. Trust them until you can't, but never fall in love with something that can rip your heart out and smile while doing it. Right. Sad reality, guys. And right there, I'm going to read that again one more time to really let that sink in. Never fall in love with something that can rip out your heart and smile while doing it. So a lot of the nice guys are the guys that get sucked into the romance narrative and are like, that's terrible. How could you not be in love with your wife? Blah, 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 blah. It's not a real relationship. Okay. Gentlemen, I tell you all the time, you have to be in a situation where your gal knows no matter what, if she crosses the line with you, whatever that line may be, reasonable or unreasonable, that you're out of there. And you have to have the ability to the strength and self-love of you first, and the strength to be able to walk away, and the ability to be on your own and not be destroyed. Because until she knows that you will leave if she crosses that boundary or line, whatever that is, she's never going to fully respect you. They have to know. Because women will never love you. You'll never have their heart or their soul if they don't respect you. All these stories I cover all the time boil down to pretty much the main thing, as the woman lost all respect for the guy because in some capacity he was acting like a total bitch. Really. The grandpa said that women have always been fickle, depending on the time of the month, what their friends are doing, or just the direction the wind happens to be blowing. They can flip the switch and not think twice about it. Correct, because they're going to go based on how they feel and their emotions. Then he laughed and said, hell, even King Arthur couldn't keep his wife from cheating, and he's got a sword. He says something about keeping up with the Joneses, but I didn't know what that meant until I looked it up. Smack! What? You know what the fuck that expression meant? Well, now you know. Then he dropped the wisdom on me that changed my life. He said, as a man, it isn't your job to be in love with your woman. It's your responsibility to protect and provide for her. It's her job to love you. I asked him if that meant I was supposed to treat them like crap, and they both laughed and said no. He says you can love them, but never be in love with them, and they have to explain the difference. My dad says you can love. That just means that you show consideration and respect. But to be in love means that you will forgive any transgression, accept any shortcoming, and in general, put your life as a secondary for their happiness. You have to be the leader in your relationship, and if you're putting yourself as secondary, you aren't leading, you're following. There you go. End of story. That's the problem so many guys have, that they're so in love that they get treated like dog shit, like garbage. They stop being who they are. Yeah, you can love them, but don't be in love with them. Let them be in love with you. Let them be obsessed with you. Whatever. truth bombs on this channel, guys. And I'm going to have people who are going to disagree with that old school wisdom, but okay. My grandpa and grandma were married for over 60 years, and I can't think of a single time growing up that he wasn't the undisputed man of the house, and my grandma loved him. Sure, she would grumble sometimes, but never when he was in earshot. He was a nice man, but didn't tolerate any BS in his home. I asked him that day, we were camping and talking how he made the marriage last so long, and he said it was simple. He said he loved my grandma dearly, but she was under no illusions that she pulled any bullshit, his bags would be packed, and he'd be out the door and never look back. What did I tell you? What I've been saying since day one, guys. The problem is nice guys can't do that. Or they think they can't do that. I want to rephrase it. They think they can't do that. And they get themselves so in love that they can't stand up for themselves. They're so fearful of losing her. This is old school wisdom here. Grandma knew, you piss me off, you cross that line, whatever that may be, I'm out of here. And never looking back. She's not going to cross that line. She may sometimes get close to that line, as we all know how they operate with the testing, but not crossing it. That one hit me sideways. I asked him if he was being controlling, and he said, of course I'm being controlling. That's what leaders do. They control the situations. I had never heard of a man talking like that before, and I asked him how Grandma felt about that, and he said, obviously she doesn't mind because she's still at home. Right. You notice a lot of these stories, guys, the gals cheat on their nice guy husbands to go for the bad boys who, guess what? Tell them what to do. Are controlling. Are the leaders that don't give two fucks. Right here. If she didn't like her life or situation, there weren't any locks in the door stopping her from leaving. Then he hit me with the truth bomb that changed me. I asked him if he would be hurt if she left him, and he smiled and said that he was a man before he met my grandma. He's been a man with her, and he'd still be a man if she left. He said that as long as she's behaving like a wife, she gets wife privileges, but if she stops, he'll revoke them and never look back. It was a long weekend, but one that I desperately needed. Looking at my own parents' marriage, I can see where my dad learned his lessons. I asked him after that weekend why he never told me any of that before, and he said there's something about men and their ears. Until they fall on their faces, they can't seem to hear anything. He said he was the same way. It must be a guy thing. I will 100% back that up. Yes, because I was once a young dumbass that didn't want to hear certain things that were told to me. The interesting thing is my dad really didn't take a whole lot of time. My dad was great, but there's a lot of things he didn't bother with me. But I'll never forget, guys, the first time I had my heart broken when I was 16 years old by the first girl I loved. Yes, I told you I was that way back then. And he saw how upset I was, and he said to me, young SSM, he says, young SSM, you should have lots of girlfriends. You're 16. Do you think broken-hearted me, who thought the world would ever go on without that girlfriend of mine who broke up with me, do you think I wanted to hear that then? No. But I remember it now. He said, you're young, you should have lots of girlfriends. And my dad certainly was, well, my dad was a Marine, and then transferred to the Navy, an officer, and a doctor. And before he settled down, let's just say my dad, according to my mother, my dad was very popular with the ladies. I should have listened. But anyhow, yes, guys don't want to hear things until they've hit rock bottom. It has been 9 years since then, and I've changed a lot from who I used to be. There weren't any fast or easy changes, but they were necessary, and I can honestly say my life has never been better. That's great, my man. And I like what he just said, that it wasn't fast or easy changes. Translation, he had all that nice guy programming going on in there. It took some time to get rid of that, some trial and error. So you guys are trying to work on yourselves, particularly from shedding your nice guy skin. It's going to take some time, but you will get there. I saw the term relationship guy in one of your videos, and I guess that would be me, but with some basic rules. I've seen stories that tell men to tell women what they expect or to lay down boundaries. I guess that's fine right before you get married, but while dating, it's not a very wise thing to do. When you tell the opposing team your playbook, they can use it against you. Let them be whoever they're going to be and judge them on their real behaviors and not act on it. It took a few short-lived relationships and a lot more discussions with the men of my family to figure that out. I remember telling my dad when I was around 30 years old that I was getting worried that I wasn't going to find anyone to marry, and he laughed his ass off. Man, I would like to hang out with your dad and grandpa. Grandpa, rest in peace. They're awesome. He told me that if I was looking for them, I was doing it wrong. If you're being a man, being productive, taking care of business, and living your best life, they'll come looking for you. Exactly. This is why guys that are on their grind, that are on their purpose, making something of themselves, they're busy chasing success and chasing an amazing life. And guess what? The girls will chase after them. The guys that spend all their time and energy chasing after girls, those girls are chasing after the guys that are making something of themselves. You see my point? It's the same exact thing what your dad's saying here. That was the final piece of the puzzle, and it changed the way I approach women and relationships. I'm not saying this is the blueprint, but it's worked for me, and I don't holler any BS in my life. I'm having too much fun for BS. Exactly. You can be a good guy, gentlemen, but just simply don't tolerate any shit. And that's not just from the gals. This is anybody. That's what I did. I started living my own life and having fun, taking care of myself physically and financially, and having a great time with my friends. Wonderful. Over the years, I picked up a few friends with benefits that were on a regular rotation, and my life was going pretty damn well. It was clear my friends with benefits wanted a relationship, but their behaviors cut them out of taking them serious category immediately. Right, because they're behaving like friends with benefits, and that's not girlfriend material. Their behavior was clubbing, dressing like 304s, always on social media, etc. I was open with them that they could have fun, but nothing else was going to come from it. And you know what? I guarantee you that turned them on more. They're like, ooh, challenge, yay. And guess what? They never got you. If they didn't like it, they were free to go. It still shocks me they accepted staying friends and not moving on. But I've given up on trying to figure out why women do what they do. And guys have been trying to figure that out since the Garden of Eden. And they're going to be trying to figure that out until the world comes to an end. And this is why, as long as YouTube doesn't cancel me and I don't drop dead, I'm going to be here every day doing shows and stories, because there's always going to be situations like this where you get the point. It was when I was 33 years old that I met Candace. She was 29 at the time. She seemed like a fairly conservative gal, was polite and soft-spoken, and wasn't always at the clubs. How we met isn't all that interesting or important, but if it matters, it was at the library. I saw her there a few times over a couple months, but never said anything to her other than a nod and a smile. It was one of the last times she came over, introduced herself, and asked what kind of books I was looking for, and we got to talking about our favorite authors, which led me to asking her for a coffee date, which led to more dates and eventually starting a relationship almost 5 months later. When I was younger, I wouldn't have been going out of my way to show her attention. Now she got my attention when I had time from whatever else I was doing. And before you ask, no, I'm not a dog. When I started the relationship with her, I cut off my friends with benefits. Well, that's good, man. Don't be a cheater. Don't be that fucking guy. But obviously this girl, had to earn it. Everything was going fine, and I was taking my grandpa's motto seriously. I wasn't taking anything too seriously and was having fun. We've been dating for a little more than a year when Candace asked if I wanted to move in together, and I told her maybe in another 5 years, if we make it that far. But for now, we'll see how things went. So remember, when he started dating Candace, in case you guys didn't notice this, she was 29 years old. What's going through your typical girl's head at 29? What's going on is, oh shit, I'm almost 30. I don't have a rock in this goddamn finger. I gotta find my guy. And so 1 year into the relationship, she's now 30, or probably close to that. She's asking about moving in together. There's a reason for this. This guy's like, yeah, sure, maybe 5 years if we get to know each other, which pretty much is what I tell you guys, to spend that length of time getting to know your girl. And the moving in part is like the final test. But even then, they can fake it. It wasn't the answer she was expecting. Of course not. But she said she understood. Bullshit. Let me tell you about the relationship. I never told Candace what to do or what I expect. I live by example, and as she asked my opinion about something, I gave it to her. I was living my life, and if she wanted to tag along, great. If not, great. That probably sounds cold and uncaring, but she knew who I was by my actions. Bro, it doesn't sound mean or evil or heartless or cold or uncaring to me, or most of the guys watching this. However, I guarantee you that would sound shocking to most guys out there, because they've gone into the kiss-ass narrative that you need to worship your girl and do everything to make her happy and blah. No. You make yourself happy and let them come along for the ride. And they don't like it, they're free to go. You enjoy their company, but okay. If you don't have that attitude, you're going to end up like pretty much the majority of most guys out there. And most guys out there are miserable. If she wanted a ticket to ride that bus, she would get on my plan or have a nice life. Either way, I wasn't going to put my life on hold to chase her. By the end of our first year together, she was doing all the chasing, and like my grandpa said, she earned girlfriend privileges. I'm a nice guy. I'd give my shirt off my back to help a loyal friend, but being nice and a pushover are not the same things. One of the tidbits of wisdom my dad gave me that he got from his dad was this: every interaction is a duel. Let your opponent choose their weapons. If they bring love and respect, return that in kind. If they bring a knife, bring a gun, and show no mercy. You can be a good man, a principled man, and not be a dick. Amen. I wish I knew your dad and your grandpa. Here's how I found your channel and decided to write in. It was a month or so ago that one of your videos popped up in my feed and the thumbnail looked interesting, so I clicked on it. And that is my goal, so I'm glad to hear that the thumbnail and title worked. It was a story about the guy that met the lady on the side of the road when he changed her tire, and she ended up asking for an open relationship, and he left her sitting at the restaurant. I saw a lot of myself in that guy, and that got me to watching some more of your videos, and now here I am writing my story to you. Maybe you'll find some use for it, or maybe not, but here we are. Oh, no. Your story is great. I guarantee the guys are enjoying this very much. Anyway, back to Candace. We were doing well and getting to know each other, and most important, we were having fun when we were together. It was about a year and a half into the relationship that she brought up the topic of marriage, and I told her that someday, if I found the right woman, I was definitely going to get married. Okay, she's now officially 30 years old, and the clock's ticking. I want to get married, and she's bringing it up. She asked where I saw the two of us going, and I said we were doing great so far, and I didn't have any complaints. That was the end of that conversation. Fast forward another 5 months, and we've been together for almost 2 years, and I started to see the first red flags popping up. Nothing extraordinary or uncommon, but they were there. The first one was she was starting to act more distant, but not to the extremes. Then it was the rescheduling and canceling of planned dates because she has something going on with her friends. You should never tolerate that shit, man. If she's constantly blowing you off or canceling at the last minute no. You got better things to do with your time than someone that's going to... Think about it. You made plans to get together, restaurant or this or that. I don't know, whatever you like to do. And you make plans for that, and she blows you off to go hang out with her friends. You'll find something else to do, but that ain't cool. I suspected that the relationship was nearing its shelf life, so I stopped putting much effort into it. It was about 2 months of that behavior when, like so many other stories I've read, she brought up the idea of an open relationship. Now, guys, with the wisdom of Grandpa and Dad, I'm picturing like his grandpa like appearing suddenly like a ghost, like in Return of the Jedi when Obi-Wan appeared as a ghost to talk to Luke on Dagobah. I'm picturing Grandpa appearing in his Friar Tuck Jedi robes and passing on some wisdom here. Open relationship. Let's see how well this goes for Candace. I didn't get angry or kick her out. I'd read enough stories to know she was already back in the market and she was just eliminated herself from the marriage material and girlfriend categories. But if she wanted to be friends with benefit, I was fine with that. Now, remember how Grandpa said, you can love her, but don't be in love with her. So he's having a great time with her, but she's pulling shit that he was prepared for. So instead of, in most situations, get the fuck out, it's over with, our guy's going to have a better way of handling this, and you'll see. No more girlfriend privileges and free sex for her. What's not to love about that? When she asked what I thought about that, I just shrugged and told her, sure, why not? She asked if we needed to come up with some rules, and I remember laughing and asking her if we were little kids. She would do her, and I would do me, and that was that. So here's the deal. She wants to get married. You're not interested in rushing along to get married. So she's keeping you just in case, or she can find some other sucker that she can probably hope to. She's monkey branching, even though you're quite the branch. She's keeping you around as her quote-unquote boyfriend while she's looking for a replacement that will probably wife her, as they say, right now, put a ring on it. And if it doesn't work out, she still has you. That's her idea here. The best of both worlds. But she's dumb enough to pull this with a guy like you. Over the following 3 months, I stopped calling her, but would take her calls when she reached out to me. She would come over about once a week to get frisky and have dinner, which she usually cooked, and that was all the effort I was putting in. I also reconnected with my old friends with benefits and started spending time with them, which they were more than happy to do. It was one evening that I was entertaining one of my friends with benefits when Candace came to my house and was surprised to find the other girl there, and she actually had the nerve to get angry. She's the one that proposed the open relationship. We all heard this, which means you're going to go out with other people and hook up with other people. She proposed that. We all heard that. And she shows up to your house unannounced and has the nerve to get pissed off when you got another girl there. Right? You showed up at her house and she was there with another dude, right? I asked her why she was mad, since this was what she wanted. And she said that she noticed that I wasn't giving her any time, and that if I wanted to keep her as a girlfriend, I need to start showing her more consideration. Bitch, you're the one that wanted to bring up you brought up the open relationship. You said that I'm not good enough as is, and you want to go F other dudes. And you're giving me a hard time because I'm doing what you said you wanted to do, and I'm supposed to chase after you and give you more consideration. Do you know who you're dealing with here? She was a little shocked when I started laughing and asked her what she was talking about. I told her we were both single and could do whatever we wanted, and she said we were in a relationship and never broke up. I told her that we broke up the second she asked for an open relationship, and all she was to me was a slow Tuesday. Whew! Ouch! It probably didn't help when my other friend, the girl that was there, started laughing, and Candace ended up running out of my apartment in tears. Oh, boo-hoo. She brought this all on herself. But of course, no accountability. I'm not sure what she was expecting, but I'm pretty sure that wasn't it. And this gentleman is why the wise words of his Jedi Ghost Force Spirit grandpa saying, don't fall in love with him. You can love him, but don't be in love with him. Because if you're in love with him, you can't do what this guy just did. That was just under a year ago, and I'm still living my life and having a wonderful time. Good for you, man. You earned it. Candace is still in my rotation and has tried several times to get me to take her back. But I've told her as clearly as the English language will allow that I will never be in a committed relationship again. But if she wants to have fun, I'm down. Or maybe never in a committed relationship with her. One thing that she doesn't know is that after we broke up, I gave up on the idea of marriage or kids and spent some time talking to my dad about it. In the end, I got a vasectomy because I'm not going to be a baby trapped by any of these women. And guarantee you, my friend, sooner or later, is if they haven't tried already, they're going to try. But don't tell them you had the vasectomy. Let them tell you I'm pregnant and go through that whole song and dance, and then you can just laugh and say, oh, by the way, it's impossible. I'm not going to get trapped by these women, but I'm not going to stop having fun. Men adapt or they die. This is the world we live in, and if you want to play, you better know the rules. That's my story, and thanks to the men in my life giving me a reality check. I've adapted to the world that we're in. Maybe in a few generations, things will settle down. But it only looks like the world's getting crazier by the day. Good luck out there, guys, and protect yourselves, but have fun. It's not life if you're not going to live. That is a great story. That is awesome, and I'm so glad you had Grandpa and your pop, your dad, giving you that wise wisdom on the camping trip. This is what all guys need. That's some old school wisdom there. But notice they didn't tell you until you're a lot older because, obviously, you didn't hit rock bottom. And so many guys have to hit rock bottom and be suffering before they finally will accept, because that's just our stubborn, pig-headed nature. And I was just as much of that jackass when I was younger, too. Hopefully, some of the younger guys here that haven't been burned so badly will learn from this. You know, you get the entertaining story and you'll learn some things along the way. That's my goal. So, bro, good job. Keep doing what you're doing. You're in your late 30s now. You are in your prime, and I know you know this. And just keep hitting the gym if you hit the gym. Hang out with your buddies. Have a good time. And I'm glad you got the vasectomy because of the amount of, gals that you have in your rotation. It's only a matter of time before. If it hasn't happened already and you didn't tell me, then one of them is going to pull the I'm pregnant card to lock you in. Guaranteed. And keep living a good life, and you're a good role model, and share your wisdom to any young guys that'll listen and go from there. But a lot of guys will definitely get something from your story here. Alright guys, that is it for today. Be sure to comment down below, let me know what you think about this. Also, give this guy a shout out for a good story being told. And be sure to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.